Hey, welcome back to what is hopefully going to be the actual final installment of the Blazer project. I think that'll be my new gag. I'll just have to start every episode saying it's the last one. And then in 2050, be like, welcome to episode 350, the final one. So anyway, I have a theory. In the last video, you saw me playing with the ABS sensor, and I took it up and down the driveway, and I was like, man, that fixed it. Sweet, problem solved. Next morning, I went to drive it for work, backed out of the driveway, and it immediately kicked on again. So I didn't fix it. I don't know why it stopped working just long enough for me to test it in the driveway and then go right back to being the way it was. But the ABS still kicks on when I come to a slow stop almost every single time. But then I got to thinking, what if it isn't the front two sensors, one of those that's failing, but what is it comparing that data to? I was thinking I have those speed sensors on the transfer case, so it's probably taking that signal, comparing it. I tried to do some Googling. It looked like there was some truth to that theory, that one of the speed sensors on the transfer case is being compared to the two speed sensors in the front. And if the front two are mismatched, or if they are the same but mismatched to the back, it thinks something somewhere is locked up and it puts on the ABS. If one of those sensors on the transfer case had failed, or if the wiring was bad or something, it would also throw a four-wheel drive warning light on the dash, which I have. If you remember, I've replaced everything in that four-wheel drive system or refurbed it. So I was kind of at a loss. How is that still showing a four-wheel drive light when everything is new? Like, what could possibly be left? But I did reuse those three speed sensors, and I never tested them. And I have an extra set of three from the parts transfer case I bought. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna grab these sensors. I should just be able to hook them up to a multimeter, move a magnet in front of them, and see them do something. If they do that, I'm just gonna throw in a different one, plug it in, see if it makes a difference. I can also then test the one I removed and see if that one happened to be bad. I'm hoping it is that, because like I said, I have the parts. If it's a wiring problem or an ECU problem, then it's the person who buys this car's problem. But if I can fix two items on my list of flaws that are scaring away potential buyers without spending $1, I'm gonna give it a try, even though it's 1,000 degrees outside. As long as this door is shut, it's somewhat manageable in here. Let me see what the thermometer says. Looks like about 81. When you come into an 81 degree shop and it feels like you just walked into a walk-in freezer, you know it's hot out. Again, this is not usual for Iowa. Usually for Iowa, right now we're laughing at all the people in the South, like, haha, you can't go outside, and we're just sitting outside chilling, having a good time, enjoying summer. Not this year, man. Whew, I don't know how people in Texas should do it. Okay, so here are the speed sensors from the transfer case. Honestly, I don't remember if these are from the one I took off or the one that I bought used and rebuilt, but it doesn't really matter. They all look the same. I think they're all original GM. So I'm gonna clean these up off camera, and then I'll show you my setup to test them. All right, here are my sensors all cleaned up. It's just to make it easy to get in here. I've used two little alligator clips, and I just have them clipped to my multimeter leads. Got my multimeter set on DC volts, and I also have the range set to the lowest to millivolts. That's just because if you use auto ranging, it takes a second to catch up. So if you have the ability to set it to a low voltage range, that's better. On top of that, this has this cool feature where the top will light up, sort of like an analog meter. So that makes it really clear on this. An analog meter would actually be pretty good for this as well. I don't think I have batteries in mine right now, but all I have is just a magnet. When I move it across, the meter jumps every time I pass in front of it. And I've tested all three already, and they all three do the same thing, which doesn't surprise me because they are made to be completely sealed and pretty much foolproof. You can imagine if you had a little switch that would click every time reluctor wheel or whatever spun by, that switch would wear out so fast. This is a nice heavy-duty way. This one has been a little finicky. I've gotten it to work, but it's been a little less reliable. So I don't know if that has to do with the connection. Maybe the connections are extra dirty, or if it's actually just failing. Yeah, I'm not gonna put this one in. It tests fine sometimes, and it doesn't other times. So this one isn't going in. Both of these seem to work fine. I'm just gonna climb under the car, sneak the other one out, sneak this in real fast, try not to lose any fluid, and see if it makes a difference, because I gotta go make a trip in the 1,000,000 degree heat in the black car with no AC. So this just got interesting. Climbed under the car. I took off which end? I don't even remember. The first speed sensor I saw, because I don't know which one or if it's both that the computer looks at for the ABS. But anyway, I pulled out the one that I saw first, and I popped in one of those different ones. The old one is right here. I tested it. It is good. I plugged it in. If both are good, I'm not going to trade it back. So I went to plug it in and I was like, oh, what color wires are these? Because I wanted to compare it to my wiring diagram and see which one that was. In my diagram, it's kind of weird. Here they have a front prop shaft speed sensor and rear prop shaft speed sensor, but there's 3 under there. So I don't know which 2 those were, so I was just gonna double check the wires. Wait till you get a load of these wires. What do you think of that, huh? One of the wires is totally broken off, which makes sense because it lives right here, and this is the catalytic converter. So that area is gonna get really hot. So I don't know if that plug is repairable. I might just have to order a plug, but I mean, if I can get away with a few dollars, I might do it. So I'm gonna remove that plug and we'll meet you back inside. Well, the world is shining on me today. So I removed that plug, and obviously I could tell this wire had been broken for a long time. And this is the wheel speed sensor going to the output shaft of the transfer case, which should correlate to the speed of the rear wheels, which is probably the one that the ABS looks at. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just order one of these plugs, no problem. What's a couple more dollars? And I remembered I had this. That's the wiring harness off the parts transfer case that I rebuilt. It has 3 plugs. So I'm gonna cut off the one with the right color wires, use a couple of heat shrink butt connectors, throw it on, see what happens. If anyone ever needed this wiring harness from GM and tried to order it, if it were even available, it would probably be a pretty expensive one because they have shielding running along every wire, and then they're all connected together right here to a ground. I noticed on the wiring diagram that it was shielded, and I thought that was weird because I only saw 2 wires, but the shield stopped just a little bit before the end. And another thing I noticed, every single one of these was like twisted up, like somebody had gone around tightening up the wheel speed sensors without unplugging these first. It doesn't look like any of them are broken, so I'm gonna just roll with it. I think this is the green and yellow one. I thought that was a blue, but you never know what happens to wire colors when they get hot. So I'm gonna cut this one back a little ways, and I'm gonna use 2 butt connectors. Let's see what happens. Okay, here's my connectors. Put them back up and over the transfer case and plug them in. Okay, that is plugged in. God, I hope none of the other ones are like that. Well, that's all I'm doing on that today. I got sweaty and filthy, so I'm gonna go run my errand. I will pull you up live so you can see if that helped. Everything points to that should make a big difference. It's the output shaft that is probably the one that talks to the ABS module. It also talks to the 4-wheel drive, and I found a broken wire. So it's not one of those, like, everything points to this, but it's a guess. Like, I know that was a problem. So if that makes my 4-wheel drive light turn off and makes my ABS stop being stupid, it's gonna be worth out here laying in this awful heat. So we'll pick you back up in the car once I get ready to leave here. Again, in the black car with no AC. Well, I'm finishing my errands I had to do. Philip's home repair, actually doing home repair. And if you're wondering if anything's better, no, it's exactly the same. No change whatsoever. 4-wheel drive light's still on. I just shifted through all my gears and I'm on gravel, but listen to the brakes. That's the ABS turning on. So, long story short, I fixed a problem, but it made no noticeable difference to my problems I have. Here comes my ABS again, listen. Exactly the same way that it was. So I am going to, not today, because it's Sunday evening and it's really hot and I just want to take a shower and be done for the day because I got to work in the morning. But I'm going to climb around under there again this week and see if the same thing has happened to a sensor or a wire that happened to the one I already looked at. There's 2 more in there. Now, can I access them with the transfer case in the car? I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. Not doing it tonight, especially because it's right next to a catalytic converter on a car I just drove. So I guess we'll pick this up in the next one. See you then. All right, everyone, welcome back. It is Friday, just survived another week of work. I say survived like my job is that hard. So what I've done today, I think you probably remember where I left off last week. I mean, for you, that was 30 seconds ago. For me, that was a week ago. But quickly to recap, I have 3 speed sensors on the transfer case. I had checked one of them, found the sensor was good, but the wires were broken. I repaired the wires. There was the old connector. I repaired the wires, ensured the speed sensor was good, put it back together, no change. Before I turned on the camera today, I went out there Then I located the front drive shaft speed sensor, which here's the diagram, and that was this one here. My wires were purple and yellow. And I swapped in a speed sensor I knew was good, pulled that one out, tested it, it was also good. The wires looked good. I didn't film any of that because I'm just completely doing it by feel. You can't see anything that's on top of the transfer case. So then I dug around until I found the final speed sensor, which this is the front and the rear drive shaft. The wire colors I think were purple and a green maybe, so it wasn't one of these. I started going through, I printed off all the different diagrams that I could find. And if you're wondering where I got these from, you might have the same access I do. If you have a library card to your local public library, you may be able to look at auto repair manuals for any car. So that's what I've done here. So this one is about this, mostly about the switch and the dash. Tells you how that's wired. Body control module, radio, lights, body control module. I've kind of gone through here and haven't found where that other speed sensor goes. Here we have the transfer case shift control module. So this is that thing that bolts onto it. And it doesn't look like I have any encoders on here. Here we have the motor. Yeah, that's the motor that shifts through the four-wheel drive gears. And here's the control module. And again, no encoders here. We have the encoders here. These are the encoders that tell you what gear the shift motor is in, not if your wheels are turning. This one covers, here's the motor, here's the control module, a few other things. Service four-wheel drive light, where that comes to from the control module. So that's how I turn off my control light. I cut the gray wire. And then this one is, oh, these are those sensors I just showed you, telling you what gear the shift module thinks it's in. So nowhere on there do I see this other speed sensor. But I reached around, I found it, it was on top, actually farther back than I expected. And I hooked it up to test, and I have nothing. This one appears to be dead. Oh, great timing. That means my battery's about to die. Yeah, I have nothing. This is completely dead. So I confirmed that the wires were good, and I put in the sensor that I took out of the last location that tested good. So I'm gonna throw this one away, and I'm gonna try to drive it again and see if I fixed it once again. I'm gonna go hop in it and go for a little drive and see if replacing this fixes my ABS and my transfer case light. All right, we're back in the truck. I just did a couple little runs in the driveway, and it doesn't seem like anything's changed. I will accelerate now, and hopefully you can still hear it over the lawnmower and the traffic. Yep, that was it. I'm gonna try just unhooking the battery for a little bit, see if that resets anything. I don't really know. It's worth a try. Maybe also try shifting through the four-wheel drive gears. I'll try that first. We'll bring it back. All right, so I shifted into 4 low, went up and down the driveway a couple times, shifted back into 2-wheel drive. The light was still on, ABS was still kicking on. So I got the battery unhooked. I'm gonna see if that resets things. I don't know, literally the least I can do. But I don't know. I really just need to get the thing scanned. If this truck was like a couple years older, I could just jump 2 wires on the OBD port and count light flashes. But since it's a 2000, I need a really fancy ass scan tool to communicate with the 4-wheel drive module. Can't wait to get this thing fixed and out of here. All right, we'll see you in a bit.
Later that same evening.
Well, I just had a very informative trip. I went and visited my friend Kevin, who works at the auto shop. I guess I won't say their name because I don't know if they want to be mentioned. But he offered a while ago to hook up my car to their nice, fancy Snap-on computer thingy and tell me what codes are saved in my transfer case module. So we did that, and what we found is the code that's saved in there is C0323, which is related to the encoder motor lock. Yeah, transfer case motor encoder lock solenoid error. I had no idea what that was. We did some poking around and found that there is in fact a lock solenoid, so that after you switch, say from 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive, the lock will undo, the motor will turn, and then it will lock back in place so that the encoder motor doesn't pop out of gear while you're driving. I didn't even realize that was a thing. It's just part of the encoder motor assembly. You know, you just plug it in and it's supposed to just work. So since that is new, I'm gonna assume that part is good and the problem is in the wiring. So let me turn you around and show you what I found on the wiring diagram. So here is one of my wiring diagrams. And you can see right down here is the encoder motor. And then this is the lock solenoid. That wire comes over here and it says tan and goes to the module that's in the passenger side kick panel. While we were on there, we printed off from their repair stuff that I don't have access to because I have an account. And it says some things like probe the tan wire and check for voltage. Ground the tan wire and check for the motor brake inside the encoder motor to click and disengage. So they're talking about this tan wire being a problem. I certainly don't think it would be a stretch to assume I could have a broken wire in that wiring harness since I just found one and fixed one a few days ago. So it kind of looks like that should have nothing to do with ABS, and the reason my ABS is kicking on randomly has nothing to do with that four-wheel drive light. It was good that I went down that path because I found that bad sensor and that bad plug, and I got those corrected. However, that means I still have two problems, even though I fixed two problems. So they used their fancy Snap-on computer and scanned the ABS computer as well, found the old stored codes from before I repaired the module, the old ones for like solenoid, something, whatever. That's all done. The one that's still lingering is front left wheel sensor out of range, which was the wheel sensor I was messing with because the voltage was too low. I removed one of the shims, I put it back in, the voltage went up, but it still wasn't all the way up. So I still think that's my problem. It kind of looks like the only way I'm going to fix that would be if I replace those sensors that I just put in 2 years ago. And I kind of wonder if the fact that the ABS module was so messed up with broken solder joints and everything, and it was throwing the orange and the red errors on the dash, that it was maybe just disabled. So then the reason that the ABS wasn't kicking on randomly was because it had turned itself off because of the more serious errors. I don't know, I'm speculating, but I think those sensors would be what fixes it. If not just the driver's side, possibly they both suck, because when I spun the wheel, I wasn't getting that 350 millivolts. But anyway, I just have to decide if that's something I want to buy or if that's something that I just, you get what you get. But I have had no bites on it. I mean, I've had a few people inquire, but I've had no offers, so I don't know. And then another funny episode while we're there. So I pull up to my friend's shop, turn off the truck, go inside, get him. He comes back out with the thing and we do the scanning, and he's like, all right, turn it off, start it up, see if the light's gone away, because we reset it, but it came back. But I went out there and turned it, and it was just clicking like the battery was dead. I was like, now what? This battery is a couple years old. The starter's 1 year old. The ignition switch is a couple years old. Like, everything's new except the alternator. So we brought out a jump pack. He jumped it. It started right up. My battery gauge on the dash was showing 14 volts. I have no idea. I didn't shut it off. We stopped for food on the way back, got some food to go to bring home, and I just left it running while we were in there. But I don't know, man. This thing would be making me rip my fucking hair out if I had any. I'm gonna climb underneath that car. I'm gonna look at that tan wire, see if I can figure anything out. All right, well, I had another breakthrough. Climbed underneath there, disconnected this harness, and found this. I took some close-up pictures I can put in here. The tan wire wasn't broken, which is this one, but the orange one was, which is just as important. The encoder motor was still connected, but barely. So I did what I did with the other plug that was broken. I just cut it off of my spare harness, left a little bit extra, used heat shrink butt connectors, reattached it. I just took it up and down the driveway. Everything is still working fine, obviously, but the light is still on. I've unhooked the battery. I'm gonna give it some time, see if it will disconnect. When we tried clearing it at the shop, it immediately came back. Well, it was probably looking for this signal, and that wasn't really gonna work. So I could still have another break somewhere, but this isn't shocking. There's been so much mouse damage on this vehicle, it looked like this had been chewed through. We'll see, I'll let you know how it goes. Well, it's the following day. I had to run some errands, so I took the Blazer. The ABS is still turning on every time I stop. The four-wheel drive light is still on, so I think I'm gonna give in and order wheel speed sensors. Gonna get some decent ones this time instead of the cheap ones that come with the hubs, and hopefully that fixes the ABS problem at least. The four-wheel drive thing, man, I have no idea. I have fixed so many wires and it still keeps coming back, but I'm kind of hoping, because I know with a lot of things the engine light turns off after some number of cycles and driving so far at some speed and it resets. I'm hoping the same thing happens with the four-wheel drive light. If not, I'll stop by my friend's shop next weekend and see if we can clear it again and see if it doesn't come back now that the wire is repaired. So anyway, not a very good conclusion. This is definitely not the last episode, so I'm gonna order some wheel speed sensors, and I guess we'll see you in the next video.